Peace, this is Star with the Star Blooms. So, I wanted to give more in a rate that is specific to circumstances that we could benefit from. 453. Um, I feel like it's so vital because there's a certain rate of foundational shift that's occurring within our communication, allowing us the ability to be more righteous in how we show up in communicating, speaking, and affirming over ourselves. Being woman of color, being like black, um, indigenous, I understand and I'm aware that we come from a lineage of divine feminine women who really birthed and cared for a nation beyond themselves, yet we were miscarried. Yesterday, I spoke to y'all about release or let go. Release in your let go, right? And the reason is because 454, thank you. The reason is because I was being called to surrender a rate of what I had been keeping, not aware that I just wasn't comfortable being so vulnerable in my vulnerability that I experienced being so close with the Most High. Um, I literally heard there is no you know, because I do know. The word that I want to speak about is miscarriage today. Today's date is 4/29/2026, which is 4/11, which is 2, 2026, which is 10/1, which is 7, but technically it's a 16/7 day. It's a karmic 7 day. When I started channeling this message, it was at I believe it was, I don't even know if it was, I think it was like 4/12. But what I was paying attention to was the 7/7, and how for me, anytime I see 7/7, I see 7, and then I see 7, which ends up becoming, I'm not going to call it an inverted, but I'll say it becomes a triangle, which is basically upside down, which is representative of the feminine energy. I literally said the sevens that join to create feminine, a true structure of a cell, a true structured cell, so on and so forth. The word that I wanted to speak about today is miscarriage. Normally, the etymology of this word is basically conducive to the rate of what the word itself is. If you're speaking at a rate of the feminine body, it's basically the spontaneous, premature explosion of a non-viable embryo or a fetus from the uterus, especially between the 12th and the 28 weeks of gestation. The part that really bothered me with this, y'all, I've had 2 miscarriages. I had, it doesn't matter the years that I had them, but I've had 2 miscarriages, right? And for me, I'm always wanting to understand like what spirit is doing, because I know that a lot of the time spirit be up to stuff that we don't really recognize and we beat ourselves up. But as women, as brown, black women, as the women who took care of kids that weren't theirs while they had to basically put their kids to work, the women who even after caring for their children had to basically then, it's like to be at the bottom of a totem pole that you cultivated and created and lifting everybody up, right? And not being in a space where you get to be representative of your true self. And then for us to be at this golden age where it is the release and the discovery of what's been expelled. I was about to say the expulsion of information, how they redacted certain information from us to keep us from rates of our truth, how they continue to want to require us to show up at a rate of external achievements for us to be able to prove our worthiness, whether it be in the public realm, in our jobs, in our jobs, in our fields, is what I was wanting to say, like our field of profession, right? Or even in our homes, requiring us to become subservient to, I was about to say an entity or a space that literally has been dominated in a rate of patriarchy, because it a lot of the time utilizes the things that have been used against us to formate and to calculate levels of power, because you can't be something that is aware of self and be respected by most of these boys who operate in the suits of man. And a lot of us have been married in these circumstances, still being single in a situation, fighting up a backwards battle because you don't have the proper support. Then you start to heal, and then you recognize in your healing there's a rate of surrender, and when you surrender you lose control. Okay, that's the whole point, right? You spiraling out of control because you're out of control. Being in control, you get to be on a straight line. A lot of the times that line don't even be meant for you, right? And when you think about us as a women being miscarried by a system, by a people, by a nation that you've nurtured, right, that literally lives off of the genes that come from your foremothers, that come from the fifth, like so far ahead, okay? It becomes very, very large. And then you think about the idea of miscarrying in general and what that represents to the woman's body. And then I kept on sitting with how no matter how many times I would basically Google miscarriages, I would always see the 12 and the 28. The 12, I felt like it represented the 7 cycles. The 12 cycles, my apologies, y'all. I'm thinking about something else. The 12 cycles um, of the horoscope wheel, the 12 archetypes, and then 28 being a number of wealth and abundance, but also being a number of completion and cycles. A divinely unique space where you get to be in this feminine rate. When you think about miscarriage numerology is 13-4 or a 22-4. And I felt like this was vital for me to do it this way. If you add all of the intricate parts of it, it's actually 58. Once you bring it down, you could stop at the 22 or you could go to the 13. The reason why I put both of them was because I recognized the karmic rate, and then I recognized also the master rate in it. The reason why I choose to be at both rates of it is because a lot of the times we don't know that on a spiritual level, when we do miscarry in the body, I'm not getting off. I'm not getting off task, y'all. When we miscarry in the body, a lot of the times we don't recognize that there is an intuitive agreement that has occurred. Whether it be something that you're physically aware of, whether it be a resistance that you are basically absorbing or sitting yourself in, or whether it be a rate of, I don't know why, I just feel like it's like a disturbance within yourself, right? One of the things I sense a lot that I basically had issue with wasn't necessarily the spiritual agreement that you and your child come into, basically stating not right now, not this time, so on and so forth, right? Is the recognition that a lot of the times the physical issue in the vessel, because of the non-viable environment for the fetus to thrive in your uterus, right, is of low estrogen. And what I recognize on a spiritual level, that the imbalance of the estrogen in the body represents the imbalance of the feminine energy. And basically how it's comparative to disruption in the natural, like the flow of life force and the energy associated with receptivity and nurturing and intuition. and how this basically becomes this extreme profound signal for you in transition and introspection, urging you to reconnect with your inner self. However, I also recognize, I'm going to come back, y'all. Okay, I'm sorry that I took too long, but follow, like, and share.